Jeff, Penn State at Iowa. Iowa wins this one 25-24. Penn State looked like a team that believed, looked like a team that had some revitalization. I like some of the changes that Terry Smith made. He changed it up with Kaytron Allen getting more carries. I would have loved to see what this would have looked like with a Drew Aller instead of Ethan Grunkmeyer, but the still some play calling by Andy Kotelnicki, some stuff like that. In Iowa, they were just a patient team that was able to get the win at the end of the day. Their defense played well. There was, what was it, 14 points given up, kind of. The one was on the blocked field goal. What was the other one? There was. Do you remember what it was? I'm blanking right now.
No, I didn't watch this one as heavy as another one.
Yeah,
but
there were a bunch of other ones going on, but anyway, the defense only gave up 14 points. What did you learn about Iowa in this one, Jeff?
So typical Iowa team, really, and typical Iowa game. So really, to me, this might sound weird, but we didn't really learn anything new, JR. And I don't say that as a negative. Iowa consistently wins a lot of football games. They just don't win, a couple big games in one year. They might spring an upset against someone in the year, but they don't string them together, right, to give you the big time season. And yeah, they've made Big Ten championship games. That's been a nature too of being in the Big Ten West. But I say all that, that's not, hopefully Iowa fans don't think that's negative. It's a formula to win a lot of games consistently, and especially at home. They could have easily lost this game. I mean, the Gronowski run at the end of the game, out of nowhere, whatever, 70 yards, and then the next play, the reverse for a touchdown, 2 plays done. I mean, it reminded me of Knowles' defenses against Michigan, where you think Ohio State's got things under control, and bam, Michigan's running for this super long run out of nowhere. So that's, I'm speaking toward Penn State on that one, but credit to Iowa for finding a way to win. Their passing game though is not any better, so that's why I'm like, it's kind of typical Iowa. They're last in the Big Ten. They average 131 yards per game, JR. 131 yards per game in passing. That's 30 yards per game, worse than the second worst team in the Big Ten average, right? That's a lot. 30 when you have 18 teams, 30 yards per game. So, and I'm not saying therefore Gronowski is bad, because he's actually a tough kid and, is one of those kids can help you win games. But it's your kind of typical Iowa team. And it also means your ceiling's not too high. JR is my takeaway. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm kind of on the passing game stuff as well. Gronowski, he's just not the level of passer that I think some Iowa fans want him to be, and I get that, but I do think that that's not the piece of him that came in, and maybe I should have realized this, but what I learned is that that's not the piece of Gronowski that's going to lead this team to victory. For him, it's going to be the leadership. It's going to be the fiery attitude. It's going to be one more just great leader on this team that, you have Tim Lester, who's doing a better job with the offense than obviously Brian Ferentz did. The running game is much, much better, and Mark Gronowski adds to that. It was what I wanted all last season with Brendan Sullivan. I wanted him to be able to add to the run game. Mark Gronowski is doing it now. So even with only 2 games, they have passing touchdowns in this season. They have Albany and UMass. Those are the only 2 games that they have passing touchdowns in. There was some light there at the end of the tunnel with Rutgers and Wisconsin. The passing game looked a little bit better in those games, but those are 2 of the worst secondaries, not only in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. So you have to be able to pass against those teams. You still only had like 109 yards passing against Wisconsin in that one. So tough stuff there, but yeah, this is this is how Iowa is going to win, not with the passing game, but through fiery leadership, patience, and being able to win with being able to make the right decisions in good situational football. So
I agree with that.
What did you learn about Penn State, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to pose it as a question. Has any Big Ten coordinator been more disappointing than Jim Knowles? And I'm not saying new to their job. I'm saying
Andy Kotelnicki might be.
Well, let me throw some stats at you then, JR.
Okay.
Because in the past, we've said this for years, the defense is not the issue for Penn State, but they were fired up to get Knowles because maybe they could take them to even the next level. They were already really good. I don't know if I'd call them elite because Penn State, you've always been able to run on them, frankly, and that's why they hadn't been beating Michigan lately and why Ohio State was able to close the game out last year. But 245 rush yards they gave up to Iowa, 7.4 yards per carry. They know Iowa can't throw the ball. We just went through that, and you're going to give up 245 yards on the ground when the other team can't throw the ball? I mean, that's really bad. They're 10th in the Big Ten in overall defense, like 71st in the nation as of last week. And then in the Big Ten in rush defense, Jared, they're third worst in the Big Ten. If you can't stop the run in the Big Ten, I mean, that's really – they're 3-4 more. I know Drew Aller gets a lot of talk and everything, and they haven't been great, and he's got his issues. He couldn't throw certain passes. But that defense has been the real disappointment, and Jim Knowles is the leader. And I'm not saying Jim Knowles is a bad defensive coordinator, by the way. We know Ohio State fans would tell you it's a complicated defense that takes a while to learn. But the fact that they're this bad and he hasn't helped simplify it means he's done a bad job this year.
Yeah, it's not been good for the defense, and I do get what you're saying, and I think a lot of it is the linebackers this season. Fisherman just pointed out as well, Penn State's linebackers aren't good. And I was never high on the linebackers going into the season. I liked Amari Campbell for some of his ability. I thought he was more athletic, had a better trigger than I've seen out of Dom DeLuca and Tony Rojas. But Tony Rojas getting hurt doesn't help this whole defense either. I have a very simple thing that I learned, and I think that once I say it, people will just kind of get it. I don't know if I need to expand on it too much. There is a brand out there called SEC Pretty. Have you ever heard of it, Jeff? It's like a clothing brand for SEC stuff. Andy Kotelnicki is making this look like Penn State pretty at this point. This is a team that does not, they do not play hard-nosed football, in my opinion. They do too much gimmicky stuff. They're trying to, flash this, flash that. And I thought maybe Terry Smith would bring some of that in a little bit. I do like that they tried to involve Luke Reynolds a little bit more in this one, but I mean, I get that you don't feel confident in your quarterback, but like, the only player on this Penn State offense that does not remind me of Penn State pretty at this point is Kaytron Allen. I really, really like Kaytron Allen, but overall, this offense does not look good. This offense does not look tough, and this offense is not being led by somebody who is trying to have a physical offense, in my opinion. And it's ran by Andy Kotelnicki, who was more enthralled with having gimmicks in his offense than he is with trying to run an effective, consistent offense, in my opinion.
So listen,
I don't have a whole bunch of stats like you have. I just watch the game and say, I don't like this.
So I do have a stat for listening to a Penn State podcast. The one big thing they've been complaining about is how Kaytron Allen, way better yards per carry coming in. I don't have that stat in front of me, 6 point something per carry. And Singleton's been averaging 3 point something. So in this game, Kaytron Allen had a career high for carries. So that was the one thing Penn State fans liked about it. But everything else, it was kind of the same, JR. So overall, they obviously weren't super excited because they lost the game, but at least they want to lean on Kaytron more and just have Singleton be like a secondary figure for running backs.
Very good. Yeah.